Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Physical Services Committee to order. Mark Kelly, Brian Sweet, John Duchesne, Joe Isabel. Floor is open for discussion. Now I'm going to move to the first resolution, a resolution approving the road use and crossing agreement between the County of Montgomery and High River Energy Center, LLC.
I'll sponsor that.
Legislator Patel.
I'll second.
Ordered by. All those in favor of moving it to a full board discussion?
Is this project going forward? Do we know, I mean, are we approving this before the project's approved?
Well, I know they're here today, so.
Is this,
Second thing.
oh, this is the road crossing agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially what this does is it, gives us protection should there be any damage to the roads, is my understanding. So it's a pretty standard resolution. We've done this for others. Whether the project goes or not, it's important for us, as I understand it, to have this in place.
Thanks, Dick.
Just says that we maintain the roads like we always do, so. All those in favor of moving it to a full board?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Anything under other? Okay, I adjourn this meeting at 6:01.
It's the quickest you ever did. Montgomery County.
Okay, we're convening the Personnel Committee. The floor is open to discussion. Anyone have anything for discussion? If not, we're on to the resolutions. First is a resolution authorizing the county executive to sign an agreement for Kronos workforce payroll system. Take a minute. Is there any discussion here?
I'll sponsor.
Look for a sponsor.
I'll second it.
And a second. Thank you. Now we can call for discussion. None? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? That's carried to the regular meeting. Next is a resolution establishing the position of human resource financial assistant.
Sponsor.
You got, you're sponsoring?
Sponsor.
Okay, do we have a second? Second is Chairman Pep. Is there any discussion here?
Can someone give us a little more background on this?
Yeah, Nicole, would you like to address this?
Sure. At this time, we have, in my office, as far as payroll is concerned, and historically, over the last few years, we've had, one person who conducts payroll for the county. I felt that it was fairly important that we not keep all of, our eggs in one basket, should I say, and that there be sufficient support in the event that, that person's unable to perform those duties. And therefore, and then in addition to that, with the Kronos resolution that was just passed to full board, ideally it would be great with implementation of a new system to get an assistant on board at the same time to be familiar with the system at the same time we're all familiar with it.
Good.
So,
Anything else?
so is this just augmenting someone that's already there with the $13,265 an increase, or is this just?
Oh, no, that's the amount needed for the remainder of this year.
Okay.
The full salary would be $41,215 for 2022. But it would be an additional position.
It's a new position.
It is, it's an assistant to the person, well, it's an assistant to that financial component.
Now, with this person, will there be any other cross-training on anything else?
The entire department, that person would be cross-trained for it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, without further discussion, call the roll. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? That motion is carried to the full board. And we'll adjourn the meeting. this time?
6:05.
Thank you.
You took longer than you
What's that?
All right, we'll call the Education Government Committee to order. First thing on the agenda is discussion privilege of the committee members or legislators. Does anyone have anything to discuss at this point? If not, we'll move right on to the resolutions. First resolution is a resolution confirming employment term of representative to the Fulton Montgomery and Superior County Workforce Development Board made by the executive and the sponsor. Dan, second?
did. I'll second.
Mr. Patel. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Next resolution is a resolution authorizing and approving a settlement agreement to an action relating to the opioid crisis. Need a sponsor?
I'll sponsor.
Chairman Pep, second. Legislator Wilson. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Next resolution is a resolution amending the rules of procedure of the Montgomery County Legislature for the year 2021. Any sponsor?
Sponsor.
Legislator Diamond, second.
I'll second.
Legislator Wilson, discussion.
Can,
Go ahead.
someone give us a breakdown of what we're trying to achieve here?
I think Megan can just go through the highlighted, we all have a copy of the rules that are, and the changes or additions that are highlighted. So I guess you can just follow along with the explanation.
So everything is in red, that is a suggested change.
Can we talk about each one as we go along?
Sure.
Yeah.
Might as well, we'll do one at a time.
So, there's been a lot of discussion about rules of procedure and a lot of things that are, there are some things that could certainly use some clarification. A few things that have been, debated about over the years. So, I was approached by legislator Diamond as taking this as an opportunity to try and clean things up and clarify. So, if you turn to page 2. Oh yeah, page 2. If you look under the chart that shows how the voting would go on the remaining motions, if you look for closed debate, we've also clarified that to call the question, because that's how we commonly refer to that. And we changed that from a 2/3 majority vote to call the question to a majority. And essentially what that would do would be end debate. And that's the issue that comes up fairly frequently here when someone's trying to close debate and how we would go about that procedure. So this makes things a little clearer here, so we have called questions specifically in our rule chart.
I would like to at least talk about between majority and 2/3. I like the idea of 2/3, so that, especially even last month, when we got into discussion, that the discussion just was, because we had a good discussion. And I hate to see a discussion just be shut down because, one group says, you know what, we're not gonna talk, that it actually has to be a 2/3 majority that, or we can continue on. I think it's healthy for this discussion to be able to continue.
So the difference between 5 and 7?
Correct. The only issue we've been, and that's a valid point, Robert's rules is 2/3. The only issue we've been running into is when we don't have everybody present. Then 2/3 basically is kind of a high bar to reach as far as shutting off debate. You have 2 people absent, and 1 person votes no, debate could continue for quite some time. So that was the reason.
So at a committee meeting, when you have 5 members, right?
Right,
You're either at 3 or 4.
right, yeah.
And if you don't have a full committee like
Yeah.
we did a couple times tonight already.
Right.
Yep.
And that's an automatic.
Like tonight, in this committee, we're lacking 1, so we're at 4.
Hard copies?
So majority would be 3.
Right,
2/3 would be 4.
yeah. so you would never, you'd never be able to end the meeting.
Right. But Robert's rules, is it just because of the number of people we have on committees? Is that what's causing the issue between 2/3 and majority?
It's a suggestion, and it's up to you guys, whichever way you wanna go.
Can we have it can we make it 2/3 of the people that are present? I mean, I'm just throwing it out.
Isn't that what it means?
No, it means
It's
the
2/3 of the
committee.
total committee members, yeah.
I mean, present for that committee. For committee or full board. Or full board.
I would recommend keeping it at 2/3 of the majority, if you're gonna do that, and keeping it true to what's there, otherwise you're gonna end up doing,
So regardless if you have 5 or 4 or 3, because 3 would be a quorum,
like,
so you just, that gets kind of crazy.
yeah,
I see.
yeah, I would keep it straightforward with 2/3 of,
I guess my struggle is, when is the majority enough? I mean, this body votes on majority on a lot of things, and majority is good enough. And we're talking about a not so important position. I mean, do we really want to tie it up by doing it 2/3, especially in committee? It was 2/3 majority before.
yep, yeah,
We
2/3.
struck it out and it's being offered for majority. I mean, I would support just staying at majority. Our numbers are so low. I mean, we're not talking about a 27-member board where you've got those numbers. There's so many things that make it so restrictive by doing it to majority. That, I mean, I would support changing it to majority.
What do you think, Rob?
And just throwing it out there, I just think that last month, majority of the discussion would have ended, 2/3 kept it going on.
Right.
And I think that
It wasn't
2/3
discussion.
continue going on, people still had meaningful things to say. And very easily, one person can speak, and all of a sudden you call the question, and everything can be shut down real fast. And I don't think gives everybody the full opportunity to speak and do what they need to do. You know, I just hate to see just a whole group of individuals say, you know what, we're not going to allow anyone to speak from this point on. And yeah, that's my,
I mean,
and we don't get into it that often when we have these discussions.
I guess that solidifies your point, is that, does it happen once or twice a year?
Right.
You know what I mean? So why not milk it, until everybody gets to say their piece? Just
I mean, I guess
putting that other.
I guess
train of
if we had
thought.
meetings every Tuesday, we're here twice a month. I mean, if we can't sit for one night a little bit longer to discuss things, and, I mean, and we have good discussions, so.
Certainly your fault.
I mean, I don't have an opinion either way, it's just, we're really, the thought is, we're not really basing this on us, this is a document for the future, so I'm fine either way, but I don't want to get down to what we do right now. That's not what
I call the question. Well, we haven't decided.
So do we want to, as we go along with these, make a decision?
Then we have to have an amendment then, right?
Right.
Whatever you guys change of the document, we're either gonna keep it or take out, and then next Tuesday you'll have the changes.
Yeah,
And I guess you couldn't call the question because you're not on the committee.
correct. That is correct, sir.
Right? Megan, we don't have to have an amendment for any changes, we can just make a
No.
Right, just make
Yeah,
it
Oh,
easy.
committee, yeah.
Change it in committee and move it to the board.
Okay.
You can do a straw vote if you want, if it's something that you think is hotly contested for clarity, but we don't have
We got a lot of red to talk about here.
Yeah. So
to.
what's,
Yeah, but this is a one-word amendment, we already debated about this.
so I'm just gonna run down through the people on the committee, and just give me your opinion, and we'll move on from there. Roy?
I'd like to keep it the way it is, majority.
Majority. Dan? 2/3 or majority?
2/3.
Duke?
Majority.
Majority. Joe's not here. I think 2/3. So,
Today,
If that's it.
okay.
All right.
2/3.
Yep.
All right, so the next one is on page 4. Calling the question.
All right, so we would do one amendment here, and if we need to change it to say a successful 2/3 vote. But this is when you're trying to end debate, what you would do is a motion to call the question, which shall end debate if there is a second and a successful 2/3 vote. There's no discussion. And once it's successful, then the clerk will take a roll call vote of whatever is pending, the clerk will take a roll call vote of what's pending, starting with the sponsor of the motion to call the question. In the course of responding to roll call vote, the legislator may give an explanation of his or her vote. So that's just clarifying our procedure for that.
That was good.
Well, we need to change it from majority to 2/3.
Changed it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
No.
Everyone good? Okay. So moving on to page 7, the next one.
Page 7, yes. This is just clarifying what happens when the clerk of the legislature or the deputy clerk is unavailable for a meeting. Just clarifying that procedure, and it mirrors what we do for committee. Are there any changes to that? Under committee,
Page 9.
page
Oh,
page
good,
8,
page 8.
we have added in the absence of committee chairperson of the legislature shall provide over the meeting. That's kind of been how we operated. It hasn't been written anywhere. Added that in for clarity. Certainly your call, what you want to do with that.
What happens if both are not available?
Then the deputy
Can
chair-
someone on the, either
We
the
can add,
deputy?
we can add that in. If the
The deputy
chairperson
chair.
or deputy is not available, then,
We're gonna have to say
He'd probably have to say,
defers to the deputy, and then if neither,
By that time, you won't have enough people.
to vote anyway.
you just cancel the meeting.
well, better just have it in ink
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
questions.
So, in that instance, would you want it to be the designee of the chairperson of the committee? Or how would you want?
Well, I mean,
Or
you should
somebody
go first to the
else.
chair of the pledge, and then if the chair is not available, then the deputy chair. And then if that's not the case, you,
Another
like you said,
committee, existing committee member.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, page 9. This is about committee review. So how it is right now, it's written that committee shall report on each item and may provide a recommendation for approval or disapproval by the affirmative vote of a simple majority. If a committee disapproves of a resolution, the committee chairperson shall notify the sponsor of such resolution or local law of its disapproval, and the committee shall file a report with the legislature stating its disapproval and outlining the reasons why. No item is to be reported out without a recommendation by at least a simple majority of the members of the committee. This is something that we rarely follow regarding the report, when there's a negative recommendation. So that, I would recommend we either start strictly following that or we strike that. And then this is a hotly debated one. So maybe I'll just turn this over to you guys at this point.
So my opinion on this is that the way it's written right now is if a resolution does not get a positive recommendation in the committee, it dies. It doesn't move on to the full ledge.
Right now, if something goes.
I mean, the way it's written here, the way it's changed.
The way it's changed. So the way it's changed is saying that something essentially can die in committee. The way
Right.
it's written now is, it doesn't really die, it goes on with a negative recommendation, and you send a report to the legislature.
All right, so my issue with that is that it could give a lot of power to one person in the legislature, meaning the chair of the ledge could set up committees to move an agenda. Not saying that that's happening now or ever would be, but in 10 years, you don't know what's gonna happen, or 5 years. So you have a chairman who sets up the committees, and there's nothing in the charter that says legislators have to be included in committees. So that chair could take the same 5 people on all committees, who he knows he has, or he or she has the votes of, to move an agenda. So, in my opinion, that gives one person, or it could potentially give one person a lot of power. And, I mean, what I feel is that in committee, if the committee feels that, well, we don't really like that, I still feel that the full ledge should get to discuss it at the full meeting. That's my opinion.
One solution is to make all committees of the whole. And the other thing I was gonna point out is, I mean, I think requires a lot of foresight for somebody who gets appointed chairman in January to think down the chessboard, all right, what's gonna happen in September? I know this resolution's gonna come up, I'm gonna form my committees now in January to get something through in the summertime. You know what I mean? I don't know that any of us have those anticipation skills.
No, but there's a potential for that to happen.
There is.
There is. I mean, and I don't think anyone here would ever do that, but you don't know what's gonna happen in 5, 10,
No,
15 years, and we're setting
true.
a policy for the future, so.
That can be changed as it is now.
Right,
You know, I mean, it's not like it's,
with a majority,
yeah.
2/3.
I would like to, what I would personally like to see is they approve it, send it forward. They can send it forward with a negative recommendation, or it can die. You know, they can sit there and say, you know, we're gonna send this on to the full board, we think the full board should be able to vote on this issue, but we're not gonna give it any recommendation. Just let it go from that point, or, you know, that they vote and say, absolutely no, it's not, we're not gonna move forward. Those are the 3 ways that I would like to see the option being left there. So that, you know, right now, we've had that before. We even had it like last year, where we had something where we said, let's just send it forward with a negative, with no opinion whatsoever, let the full board vote on it. Go that way,
So, this really bothers me. It bothers me that we're starting to bastardize something that wasn't put in place for us to follow. This document empowered the legislature, not the committees. Okay? The power is with the legislature. That's what we're here as a group to promulgate laws and make policy. If there's any chance that someone can use this to their benefit to shoot something down, then I don't think it's appropriate. If there's any chance whatever, and far be it in Montgomery County for something like that to ever happen. Okay? Politically, things like that have happened in the past. Once you start chewing apart the document, it loses the emphasis that it was meant to be by the people that put this together. Now, this is not a big deal to us. We had it last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about CDTA. This is not something that's a common occurrence. I don't see a reason to correct something that's not broken. I caution you about empowering 3 or 5 people to be able to pass something on to the full legislature. The full legislature is where our heart is. This is what we're about. And yes, we can speak during committee, and we can talk about it that we don't agree with it. But if you do get a group of people that want to, this is more about not moving something forward than it is moving something forward, correct?
Sure.
Okay. So I just don't think it's our job in committee to do that. We can give a negative response to it, and then you leave it up to all the voting members, not 5 or 3. I yield to my friend from Canada here.
Thank you, number 9. Well, yeah, you know, I understand what you say, number 9. The thing is, then why have committees? Either the committee has some authority or it doesn't. And as Chairman Pep said, a solution to that is have a committee of the whole for each committee, and then that way a majority would have a say in it. So this is like I say, a document not necessarily for us, a document for the future. So this has been something that's been discussed since 2014 that I know of, and the other part that you may or may not know is that if a committee votes in the negative or votes the resolution down or not to go forward, individual legislator can always bring it up at full board and introduce it themselves. It doesn't need to go through committee. So I would yield to number 9.
Yeah. There are a couple of advantages, though, to forwarding a resolution, even if there's no recommendation from the committee. The first being that there may be more information gathered in the ensuing week for the regular meeting. The other one is it does make for more public debate on an issue that's close. And if the votes aren't there to begin with, doesn't mean that that's how it's going to end up. Hopefully, there are fellow legislators who have an open mind who would perhaps take a second look based on further debate. So that's why I'd like to see the thing stay where it is.
I would have to agree with Duke. There are a lot of times when you're presented a resolution in committee, we discuss it, hash it out. You go home, you talk to your constituents, or you think about it, you do some research or whatever. You come back the next week and you may have a 180-degree change of heart on a resolution, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. So for a resolution to die in committee without making it to the full board, that would eliminate that. Because I think my responsibility is, as I'm presenting a resolution, to talk to constituents and say, what do you think about this? And then come back the next week and vote on it, accordingly. So I do agree with number 9.
I feel that the value of the committee structure, the way that we have it, is that you have a group that we, for some reason or other, feel are the experts in this part of county government. They have a responsibility to bring up the resolution, give their input into it, okay? Create discussion, and then whether they want to move it forward or not, it goes to the legislative body, and now we all have a vote in it. But I don't see the committee structure, especially committee of the whole. Committee of the whole, I think, is diluting not professionalism, but the knowledge that we look to for the committees. We look on finance committees, we look for people that have some financial acumen that others of us may look at and say, look, thank you for that. That's not something I looked at. You might look at the economic development planning. We talk about, I'm the chairman, we talk about things that are affected by real estate and manufacturing, and people are entitled to give their opinion, and give it to everybody else to digest. That's what I feel that the committee structure value is. I don't want to see, I want to see as little power given to the committee as possible. I want to see it, in my eyes, it's a vehicle to get it before the full board.
I always looked at finance being committee of the whole because of the import of it all. Everybody needs to be involved, although I will defer to your comment that, you know, people are on committees due to their expertise. But, you know, that's another way of looking at a committee of the whole is everybody's opinion needs to be taken into account, and if you need to defer to the experts, you need to defer to the experts. But from what I'm listening to here, it seems like everybody wants the opportunity in one way or another for something to be voted on by the whole shebang. You know, whether it's by adding as a negative, as is, or whatever. You make great points. We're devaluing, you know, this document's intended for the whole legislature, not just for the committees to make decisions. So I mean, you know, as I listen to everybody's opinion, it seems as though everybody wants to give everything a chance to the last minute for good reason. So let's structure it that way.
So if we leave it the way that it was written, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you don't
Yeah.
change the charter as written, you could give it a negative recommendation or no recommendation, and you could send it to the full bench.
So still, I think we need to also talk about the report portion, because I haven't seen anybody very
Well, I mean,
eager to do the report when something it dies in committee.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that is, I mean, that's something that we can discuss. It
Have
is-
to follow through.
Can you clarify that?
So right now, your rules of procedure read that if something gets a negative recommendation, the committee chairperson shall notify the sponsor of the resolution of its disapproval, which to me seems redundant, because if we're in committee and we're all in committee and then that person is aware that something is getting a negative because they're sitting in the room. So right now, the committee chairperson shall notify the sponsor that the local law or resolution has been disapproved, and the committee shall file a report with the legislature stating its disapproval and outlining the reasons therefore. So if we're going to keep that, then we need to be a little stricter about directing the clerk to file a report that is then on everybody's desk.
So could we require the sponsor of the resolution, because it's not always a legislator that's sponsoring, that's presenting the resolution, to be present at the committee meeting, so that if you decide to, to give a negative recommendation, they're here to know that?
Well, the sponsor is the legislator who sponsors it.
Oh, the sponsor?
Yeah, it says the sponsor is notified, so
So
basically.
whoever sponsors, okay, I got you.
Whoever is in the room, they would be in the room because we don't sponsor nobody.
So it's not the person who has written
Correct.
the resolution, okay. got
That's
it.
why
I got
we
you.
could change it to say that, but that's not what it
I
says
see
right
what
now.
you're saying. Right?
Thanks, Chair. So, I mean, just to try to understand this, we appoint committees with people with their expertise, but then we don't want to take their opinion of what they have to say. So, I guess I don't understand the point of having a committee. If it's going to go to the full board anyway, it can be discussed at full board. I'm not getting that unless it was a committee of a whole, which that would be something I would approve of. But I mean, this is I didn't really expect this to pass tonight because it's been discussed since 2014 and nothing's ever changed. So it's just I really don't comprehend the whole thing, but that's just me.
If I could. Because I give my advice doesn't mean that you have to follow it. The committee is giving it its advice, and then you're going to take that knowledge, you're going to think about it for a week, you're going to come back to the legislative body, and you're going to have a discussion again about it, and rehash what you didn't understand, and then everybody gets to vote on it. I mean, I don't think that committees are here to make policy. They're to deliver information and they're to move things forward to the body that does make the decision.
Duke, thank you.
Yeah, not to devalue our worth here as committee members. But if you just consider the nature of the resolutions that we pass, they're not necessarily the work of the committee. A good example is this evening, we made some changes in the Personnel Committee. They were based on the recommendation of the department head. Oftentimes we act on recommendations by the county executive, but we don't sit down as a personnel committee and say, how can we improve that department? We don't generate that kind of work. It's not like on a federal level. And that, we're not perfunctory at the same time, because we get to debate the worth and the value of the proposed resolution. And that's why to limit it to only one time in committee, if there's a negative resolution, it again does not give the opportunity for more debate and a change in reviewing the circumstances based on additional facts.
Again, the other thing is, if it's voted down, the following week, the resolution can be brought right back up again, seconded, discussed, voted on. So the committee could either, again, do three things: move it forward, vote no, or move it with no recommendation. Right now, if we vote no, it moves forward with not with a no, with no recommendation. So, and the thing is we're not killing the resolution if in fact someone wants to bring it up the following week. If there's a sponsor and a second, it gets brought back up again.
But in essence, you are killing it because it has to be brought back up. It is not on the agenda, okay? It would have to be brought up, and we know how we all hate add-ons to our agenda. You know, to me, again, what's the downside risk of keeping it the way that it is? Can anybody tell me what the downside risk is?
I think it works well the way it is, I really do. We got 1 week to change our mind or
Get more information.
Right.
I would make a recommendation, let's remove the voting part of it then. If the vote doesn't matter, it's gonna go forward anyway. Let's just bring a resolution, a sponsor, a second, discussion, and then that's it, don't vote. There's no purpose to vote.
There is, because the committee of experts is giving their opinion to try to convince the people that are gonna vote the next week with the best information or the best sales pitch that they can give.
Yeah, they can vote next week.
we're trying to fix something that's not broke. I think the system works well.
Someone needs to call the roll.
I can't.
Second.
Can we though circle back though to the report portion? Do you guys want to do a report or not?
Yes, Jen. Yes, Jen, you can circle back.
Get in there.
What are we
Tell
doing?
these folks.
So as it sits right now, without any changes, before the changes were made, you have what options in the committee? You have an option to move it to the full board with a positive, I don't even think that's in there, just move it to the full board or with a negative recommendation? What are the options?
It says, committee shall report on each item and may provide a recommendation for approval or disapproval by the affirmative vote of a simple majority of committee members. If a committee disapproves a resolution, the committee chairperson shall notify the sponsor of the resolution of its disapproval, and the committee shall file a report with the legislature stating its disapproval and outlining the reasons therefore. Do you want to keep that in or not? And if we are, we're going to have to start reporting.
My opinion is remove the report part, because the sponsor is already here, they already know that it's getting a negative recommendation. But my opinion is, regardless if it's a negative or positive, it should go through to the full board so that you have a chance to go home, think about it, come back next week and make a decision. That's my opinion. And I think, unless we're gonna continue to repeat this up, why don't we just go through and Roy, give me your opinion, and we'll just move on through the members of the committee.
I would would support the changes.
Dan?
Keep it as it is. Duke?
Yeah, I'd keep it like it is.
Okay, so that's,
How about you?
I said keep it.
Oh,
I think it would go to full board anyway.
And I think that's it on that resolution, correct?
Yes.
The other change, Brian, if I could,
Go ahead.
if a person abstains from a vote, I don't, where is that in the language? Somewhere?
Let's see.
Yeah, let's restart it.
Bob, can you just explain what your intentions are, or what?
Well, what I'm asking is if a person votes yes, or votes no, or if you abstain, state, as, the rules of order, you should be stating why you're abstaining from the vote.
So
I don't believe we have.
is
I don't
abstaining,
see it.
and just saying that you have a conflict of interest enough to satisfy that?
If something came up and I was an employee of some business and there was a vote going on, I'm abstaining because I have a conflict with that, or I'm employed with that company, I'm not gonna vote, so forth. I don't like the idea that some people can actually vote, if they don't want to say yes or no, they think they're hiding behind, well, I'm just gonna abstain from this.
I think the appropriate, go ahead.
And/or using it as a strategy to get something, if we were talking about, creating committees to get something through later in the year, you could abstain to affect the vote.
It's under K, but it doesn't say
There's-
right now that you
there's-
have to.
Well, abstention has the effect of a no vote, because you need a number of affirmative votes.
True.
And probably the appropriate thing, if someone has a conflict of interest, for instance, like when we do something, voting on a loan or something, and I'm in the real estate business, and I may have part of that transaction, what I've always been told is you should leave the room, because you shouldn't be even involved in a discussion, or to be able to look someone in the eye and kind of have any input whatsoever. I mean, the idea is to reduce whatever feeling of impropriety there is by removing yourself from the discussion. And that has more probably to do with conflict than abstaining. But
So right now, under K, it says every legislator shall vote aye, nay, or may abstain on any motion requiring a vote. Is there, or would you want me to add to that about clarifying why you're abstaining, or?
I just think that you should be making some kind
A
of
statement.
a statement of why you're abstaining from your vote, not just hiding.
what page is K on?
Page 3.
True.
Just one liner.
So I guess my question would be, not to continue the conversation further, but what's the benefit to come out of that explaining it? Is it a responsibility that we're looking for, that we have to report, why we're doing that? And I know in some,
I think it's
some
a-
bodies, let me finish, I don't mean to be rude. Some bodies do request that you do say why you're abstaining. I think actually the city of Amsterdam, if you abstain, they want you to tell why you're abstaining. And I probably don't have a problem with explaining if I had to, or explaining after I abstain, but I'm just curious what the upside or downside of it.
I think it just provides more transparency of why, a lot of people, if you vote no, we sit here, we tell people, what our opinions is up, we're gonna vote no, this is why I'm voting no. If we vote yes, And it just kind of gives people a little more transparency of what we're doing.
That's your option, but I don't explain why I'm voting yes. I don't explain why I'm voting, well, sometimes I will explain why I'm voting no, correctly, so. But that's, I think, more of my choice. Again, I really don't care whichever way you do that, but I hate changing a document that, it shouldn't be a moving document, it should be something that controls us.
So come back to 1776.
I was just gonna say.
So at this point,
Epitome of an example
point,
of a living document, the Constitution.
Kay is saying a yes, no, or abstain, so do we need to designate in there and do, because right, usually an abstention is a no vote, but do we need to document that in the rules of procedure, or are we gonna just take that as something that's the norm?
I mean, if you want to clarify, we can certainly add that in.
I mean, that's the norm, but I don't know, do we need that in the rules of procedure?
No.
You could get the majority to leave the state so there's no quorum.
Right?
Chair, I'll just say, as far as the abstention, like the previous legislature used to use it as a ploy. I think Chairman Peck kind of referred to that. And I think by having them state a reason, kind of makes an abstention what it's actually meant for, which is
Are you asking for accountability, is that what it?
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with it. Thank you.
Maybe so you can language in there.
So you want to add that an abstain vote shall have an explanation?
Yeah.
For a reason for explaining? Okay.
At least till we forget about it.
I'll remind you.
In writing and.
And a report.
Make sure you give it to the
We need
sponsor
that.
of the resolution.
Do we have to have a notary on board? Are you a notary?
Well, if we don't trust the reason for the abstention, we're certainly not going to trust the rationale.
Exactly.
All right, anything else?
We do need to add a number
Oh.
to, on page 9, public comment, to see the number added, so I'll add that.
Okay. All righty, anything else come before this committee? If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait, don't we have an add-on?
Oh, sorry,
Oh, yes.
sorry. Oh. Things that we hate. The resolution, the add-on resolution is a resolution authorizing a fireworks display at the former Beach Nut facility. Need a sponsor in a second?
I'll sponsor.
Need a second?
I'll second.
I don't really have an issue with this other than the date. In my opinion, the date is September 11th, 2021, which is the 20th anniversary of September 11th. It's just my feeling that I don't think that there should be a fireworks display on county property on the 20th anniversary. In my opinion, I'll open it up to discussion.
So I would assume that the county executive would know
Sure.
this. So is this to celebrate 9/11? Why?
It corresponds with the events that are happening in the village of Canterbury that day. What's the formal title of the event, John? It's the Street Fair Days.
Street Fair,
Yeah, it's a big event, and actually to Sweet's point, I know this is something municipalities have been grappling with across the county. City of Amsterdam was actually having their Italian Fest, and there was a lot of debate over whether to do it, but unfortunately, we only have so many weekends with nice weather. But yeah, there's a little bit of uncomfortability there, but this is something we have done in the past. A request came into the office and needed to happen this month because it is in September, so we put it forward, but I certainly do sympathize with your sentiments, legislative Sweet.
Right?
Yeah, along with legislator Sweet, and Executive asked for it, we did have this 2 years ago. Last year, we didn't have it because of the pandemic, but maybe we could see if they would have it on a Friday night instead of a Saturday night, and we could find out before the full board meeting. And,
I can get you that answer. I think they're pretty firm, but I'll inquire.
I mean, it isn't a question whether, I'm sorry,
No, good.
isn't the question whether we are allowing them to do the fireworks, and other people may be better to make the decision of whether they want them on 9/11 or not, the local authorities.
Yeah, I agree, you do what you want, but I'm just saying because it's on county property, that's all. Like,
Thank you.
I was just wondering if we could stipulate that they say this will contribute to all the lives lost in 9/11 or something of that nature. You know, as part of our approval, or a moment of silence before the roar of the fireworks, or, you know, somehow, but, you know, just a thought.
Or we can hand it off to the county executive.
Yeah,
The
I'll work
appropriate
with Janet
decision.
on it. I'm sure she's sympathetic as well.
Tribute to the.
Yeah, and actually I think, I don't know if they're up or not, but we did give them, let them hang some banners on the link fence that are very much a memorial to 9/11. And so I think they are being very thoughtful to that thought.
okay. Any other discussion? Now, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
You want to explain why?
Next month. It's not officially, next month I will.
All right, move that to full board. Anything else? Now, I need a motion to adjourn. I'll make a motion.
Second.
6:51, how's that?
Not good for mine starting at 6:03. Okay, we'll call the Budget and Finance Committee to order. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, the first resolution authorizing the county executive to enter into an agreement for brokerage services for property, general liability, and flood insurance. Do you have a sponsor? Sponsor by Patty, second. By Dan. Discussion?
A second.
Dan. Matt, just, why or how often do we go out and get RFPs or kind of get some kind of information before we do this?
With this contract, we haven't done it that often, and the reason I did that was because we just really have great experience, and Jack and Megan have been working very well together. We have some ongoing issues that related to cybersecurity, and so, you know, just moving forward, I decided not to RFP this, and just because I was really, really happy with the vendor.
I just wonder about prices of if he's in the ballpark or not, that kind of deal.
Yeah, well, the one nice thing about this situation is prior to 2014, our insurance broker was on a percentage base, so there really wasn't an incentive to keep the policies low. So one of the things that Jack has done is had to be a flat rate, and there hasn't been an increase since he's been on. So, you know, we had a very modest increase this year, and for what we're getting for 48,000, I really felt very strongly about it. So that's why we did it.
Is this up, Matt, because of the name change, up sooner than we would have ordinarily looked at it?
No.
Okay. And so the cost therefore is not a function of the fact that pool was purchased by another agency and the new agency's rates are higher?
Nope, nope.
It was gonna go up even if it was cool?
Yeah, well, it was, we had a discussion about what was appropriate. We did as you often refer to at budget time, the consumer price index increase.
Yep.
Which is exactly, that was what we used as a gauge to look at a potential increase, and I felt comfortable with it and decided to put it before Finance Committee for review.
All right, thanks.
Any other discussion?
There is a typo, Cheryl. I see it. For Gallagher. Yeah, I highlighted it.
Any other discussion?
Put down the watermelons.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Next resolution authorizing the county executive to enter in a contract with Vensky.
I'll sponsor.
Sponsor, second. Dan, discussion?
Sure.
Yes,
Couple things. Treasurer Barrowman, when we see here that this is coming out of the American Rescue Plan funds, have we started our little accounting paper where we are adding this stuff up that's coming out of the American Rescue Funds?
Yeah, this is only the second item that's been addressed as far as
Okay.
using that money.
And I also have a question with this as it pertains, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, to the next resolution, which is, this is coming out of the American Rescue Plan funds. Calderwood is something related to COVID, which is, let's face it, everything but the kitchen sink was thrown into the American Rescue funds. So why aren't they both coming out of the American Rescue funds? And what is causing the decision between categorizing this as American Rescue versus the next one as fund balance, when in fact they're both pretty much related to the pandemic? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
so I think, you know, the issue of Calderwood is more of a now issue. We need to be able to pay them for the next few months. That will definitely, if it's not in the resolution, I apologize, but in the financial impact, that will be offset by American Rescue Plan funding. So,
It's in there.
It says,
yeah, they're both going to be offset by that. And really, as, you know, we're digging into it now, really the meat and potatoes of putting that together for you guys, and likely that'll happen simultaneous with the budget process.
You've seen something different, Mike? Is it, in the financial impact, it says funds will be offset American Rescue?
Well, I see it at the bottom, but I mean, when I read these the first time, I said, all right, this is coming out of the American Rescue Plan. But I see the accounting entries on the next one where it refers to it as the coming out of the fund balance. That's the differentiating. Should the Vineski resolution also have transfer from, transfer to, and in it saying appropriated fund balance of whatever the cost is there?
I think because Sean has money within his budget to pay for it now, and then could be reimbursed later, right? Is that correct?
Okay.
Whereas the other one, we had exhausted the funding that we put there, and we needed the funding now to pay for it. And then we haven't transferred anything out of the account, for the rest of the dollars.
Because I mean, I remember the last Calderwood adjustment we did was like 70,000 or 75.
That's correct, yeah.
And we spoke of that coming out of the Biden money.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of when, and really the goal here, we're not gonna be like some other counties where we have one or two projects and that's gonna exhaust all the
Right,
funding.
right.
So this is, and that is exactly what they're gonna do for us, is really provide more detailed accounting, make sure we can cover our, what's,
No,
down the road.
I understand that. So this is all gonna be taken off our installment there,
Correct.
ultimately?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Just one thing, this is not related to COVID-19 reimbursement, right?
For,
For funds spent by the county on COVID-19.
we would be able to be reimbursed for the funds for this and the next resolution, yes.
Who's doing that work though? I mean, for-
That's Vineski, they're gonna be doing the accounting, the treasurer, myself, the county attorney, and some other key staff people have been working on, presenting, a plan for you for appropriating that funding. And we're still working through it, we got quite a bit of work to do, and we're looking to, really work through that simultaneous with the budget process.
I was referencing funds already spent for COVID-19.
Yes, so, yeah, Sarah has had a number of them reimbursed through state grants. I asked all department heads to give me a list of COVID-19 expenses, so we can then use and look at whether or not they apply to the federal funding. So basically, if something wasn't reimbursed through the state, then we're looking to cover the expenses with the federal funding as a step 2.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Next resolution, a resolution amending the 2021 operating budget and authorizing the county executive to enter into an additional contract with Calderwood. Sponsor. Second by legislator Pep. Any other discussion on this one? Yes, Matt?
I just want to note that the next 2 months are going to be lighter, so we reflected that in the contract. The monthly retainer went from 12,000 to 5,000. And we suspect this month and next month will be a little, as far as the number of clinics and things of that nature. But it could heat up again as we get in towards, October, November, December. So we just wanted to reflect the amount of work that was being done with the retainer. And then just like in the previous contracts, any personnel that will be provided additional would be reimbursed, just like we've been doing.
Anything, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Next resolution approving the abstract of audited claims. Sponsor?
Sponsor.
Sponsor, Diamond, second. Legislator Wilson, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Next resolution authorizing county exec to enter into a contract for professional auditing services. Any sponsor? I'll sponsor it. Second. Legislator Knapp, discussion.
Well, we obviously need to discuss this as it pertains to the two bids we got and fill in the blanks of this resolution and then do an amendment here. So,
We don't need to do an amendment here.
no, but I mean, okay.
So can someone bring it as back up to date as the two
Yes.
potentials and what the cost was?
We got two, but we send out 7 RFPs, we got 2 back. One is Bonadillo, with whom we do business right now for the last 5 years. The other one is from EFPR Group. Treasurer Barrowman explained to us last month when we were looking at this, that the people who would be doing our audit from the EFPR Group were actually from a former CPA firm that was our CPA firm prior to Bonadillo. The name of that one, Sean? Koski and Company. So their RFP showed the names and faces of the same contingent who used to do our books before we did business with Bonadillo. That said, the dollar amounts of the contracts, Bonadillo's for a 5-year period is $275,000. 162 for the first 3 years, 56,000 for the 4th year, 57,000 for the 5th year. The sum total of the EFPR is $254,750 for 5 years. A difference of $20,250 over the 5-year period between Bonadillo, which is the more expensive one, versus EFPR. So basically what this comes down to is a matter of who we want to plug in here based on input from Sean and Matt, who have to deal with them more directly than we do, obviously. You guys want to comment on that at all, or no? Sean, reiterate what you may have said, because I think the last time we talked about this, I believe Legislator Sweet was not here at that time, so it would, be new to his ears.
This is ultimately a decision of legislature.
Yes.
You're auditing my books. And just to give, as I know, most of you were not here, I don't know how far my recommendation goes, because the last 2 times I recommended going with somebody, this body went the other direction, so.
Welcome to New York. It wasn't this body. It was the former occupants
One-
of this
Well,
body.
you should suggest the opposite one.
So, like I said, and I would be willing to work with either. One thing I will tell you is it is a daunting task to change auditors, because with a new firm coming in, it takes a long time to become familiar, for them to familiarize themselves with our books and vice versa, so.
Would you say that this newcomer would have less of a learning curve because the same people are going to be working on it?
I would say the team leader of that EFPR is proposing was the team leader last time when Koski and Company was here. I'm willing to bet the staff that would be used to perform the audit would be totally
Different.
Go ahead.
Would that be an advantage, what you just said about them coming up to speed, meaning they would be looking, I mean, Bonadil has been here, they come in day one, they right back on the, same page, boom, 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 boom. The new company comes in, will they maybe look at something a little bit different? I mean, is it?
I don't think they're gonna be looking at anything different.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter what firm you go with, they all have to have a set sample of testing,
Okay.
they say. And, depending on what they're auditing, there is a set sample that they have to look at, so. Their picks of the sample would definitely be different, but in essence, as a rule, when auditors do come in, they tend to look at the the larger transactions when they're auditing, because those are the ones that have a material effect on the counterparty.
It's a little above my pay grade, I just was curious if that would be an
No, good
advantage.
question. Good question.
Thank you, Chair.
So, let me start by saying that I've been happy with what Bonadil has done for us. They've been a reputable group, but like I've said in the past, you shouldn't stay with auditors forever. You shouldn't be comfortable with auditors. Auditors are going to be auditing Sean's books. Sean does a fine job, but there should be some separation between there. So I would like to change the auditors for several reasons. One, I really don't think we should keep an auditor for more than 3 years. I think that's been a recommendation. Any boards that I've been on, and pretty much anybody in the accounting business, even the legislator that sat in my seat here before me, the fact that on top of that they were $20,000 higher, I can't excuse that. I think it's time for a new face. I think it's always good to have someone come in that you're not comfortable with and look at your finances, with what John Desai, as our chairman often says. So I would support using the
EFPR group,
group. And I also, I don't like the fact that we're doing it for 5 years. I mean, right away, I've got a problem with it going more than 3 years, and we're making it into a 5-year program.
It's an option, the last 2 years are an option. So we could sever it at the end of 3 years based on the language of this resolution.
But we're still higher, and we're still in the same bed that we were with the auditors that we've had for at least
No.
5 years.
No, I'm saying,
I understand what you're
I
saying.
don't disagree with your desire to change. I mean, I'm in this business, and you make a good point, although I've been on probably many boards, and it's a 3 to 5 years, insurance,
But we,
so 5 is not that outlandish, but we have that built in here, I think, by saying that we're paying for the first 3 years, and then we have the option to renew 1 year at a time if we're okay with it.
but that math with Bonadil would be 8 years, as opposed to
Yeah.
5 on the outside.
Yeah, no, because they've been with us, yeah.
And again, they've done a fantastic job.
I'm going to pull the Band-Aid and I'm going to put in Bonadil's name, and we'll vote on it, and if it doesn't vote, then we'll go the opposite way. So I'm going to put in Bonadil's name for the agreement, for a 3-year agreement of $162,000, with the 4th year, $56,000, and the 5th year for $57,000. So, to move that to full board, all in favor?
Aye.
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 No?
No.
Abstain? So it moves to full board.
Did you understand, Ron?
Naturally, I said, naturally it goes to full board.
Okay. Dashboard reports, you have a copy of those. Nothing real exciting on them.
I just have one question. Same
If
question.
it has anything to do with sales tax, I'm not gonna talk to you about it yet.
No, it's not actually sales tax.
Okay.
It has to do with our cash position going from 8.5 $16 million variance. I'm not questioning that it happened, but if you have an explanation of why we're seeing a $16 million, that's 200% increase.
We'll see if Sean gives us the same answer that he did last month.
Two main reasons, the sales tax, and we have received the half of the American Rescue Plan cash.
So $4.5 million from the rescue.
4.9.
$5 million.
And sales tax is up
And sales tax is at $4 million, $5 million, so that's 10. There's some other anomalies for $6 million.
Part of the reason is based on the operation where 2021 ended. And this was really, a lot of the county, I just came back from conference, a lot of the county realized this. Their revenues kind of held firm during
Right.
2020.
Expenses.
But many counties saw drastic reductions in expenditures due to the
Perfect.
actions to.
Perfect answer, thank you.
Sean, is there anything else that you want to discuss on the dashboard, highlights or anything?
No, like I said, as you can see, I told you this before, with DSS, as far as the claiming goes, they are up to date. I did receive the June entries just the first week in August, so their claiming's up to date. I really can't comment whether they're totally reconciled, but as far as the claims go, the claims are up to date.
Anything else? Okay. Bob, your sales tax sheet,
Got that, thank you
Okay.
very much.
you can see the bottom number on the bottom, almost 4.4. You can see that the numbers kind of are getting a little closer for the month of August.
So can I just stop you for a minute?
Go ahead.
Sales tax doesn't kick in until March, correct? Or we been basing this on January 1st, year to date, or are these numbers is 4.4 above what? The March date? You can
For
explain.
budgetary purposes, the March receipts are actually the January, actual January receipts, so. But if you're looking at the budget printout, the revenue in the budget line for sales tax is the receipts from March through August.
So we're in a good position. Thank you.
We're in a smoking position.
Okay.
I mean, our goal was 31.5, right? Our budget figure? And, you know, we're doing pretty good. Real good.
I
The
think
last
we'll slightly
thing,
exceed the budget.
the last thing under other, we got our highlighted yellow and blue-green date sheet. Please plug the dates in your calendar so that you know what's going on, or have an idea, but Tuesday, September 7th, 5:30, we have a meeting.
Yeah, that's the night we go over our budget, line by line,
Our large,
our
but
large budget.
I'll provide you guys with a copy of everything prior to that.
Anything else? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Administrator Kern, second, Administrator Wilson, all in favor?
thank you.
Thank you.